right here we have a guy who decided to get rid of his 2011 EcoBoost. Is kind of wearing out. And he got a 2022 Tacoma SR5. Now the Ford had 122,000. It was starting to have problems. He decided, I'm going to upgrade. Now, truth be told, he wanted something even bigger. He wanted to do snow plowing. This is kind of an interim one. He had bad credit, so he's building his credit up on this. But he couldn't resist it because he got $11,000 for his worn out old EcoBoost 2011 Ford. That is what's happening these days. Hey, if you got one you want to get rid of, you're going to get some decent money for it. You know, that's just the way that it goes. Now, of course, they're not giving them away. He paid $33,000 for this. But still, kind of hard getting a hold of them. And what he ultimately wants for plowing, he was thinking about an F-250 for plowing. But around here, those are starting at about 50 grand, so gonna wait and see. Granted, this is not a real plowing vehicle. As you look under the hood, this is a 4-cylinder version, and for him, it's a little low on horsepower. This 4-cylinder engine has like 158 horsepower. The V6, on the other hand, has a whopping 278 horsepower, a lot more horsepower. But then again, you gotta consider the early Toyota Hiluxes had only 78 horsepower. So, you know, it's good enough to get down the road. It's not a race truck by any stretch of the imagination, although with the V6 it is relatively quick. And this is the SR5 4x4. It's a very good 4-wheel drive system, tried and true in Toyota. He got in the mid-20s on a highway gas mileage, which is as good as you're going to get in a conventional engine gasoline. And I like it because it's still got a key. Yeah, it's an immobilizer key, but it's got a key. I don't like the keyless remotes. These are much harder to steal because you got an immobilizer in the key, but also a cut key. You got to have a key. Keyless remotes, people can copy them. You don't need a key. They don't have a key. Computer stuff can be done. You can't make a key out of a computer. It's got to actually be done. So it's a safer system. Now it is an SR5, so you get into the back here, and it's rather small. Doesn't have doors that open, so his dog doesn't like it. Now realize one thing, this is a Tacoma that was made in Mexico. Notice it doesn't say Mexico, but it says Guanajuato. Well, that is Mexico. Oh, it does say Mexico. There it is. Made in Mexico. It even says it. They're not hiding it. And it turns out that the charge port doesn't work. A customer bought one of these Mexican-made Tacomas, and the radio didn't work. So they got to fix that. But it just kind of shows you, if you understand Toyota, quality is the big deal with Toyota. But you make them in Mexico, you're not going to have the same quality. That's just the way it goes. Stuff made in Mexico, the quality is just not as good as the Japanese. That's just a fact. There's no way out of it. You look at the Bronco Sports that are coming out of Mexico. The quality of them, not so great. Now, the quality of the actual Broncos, which are made in the same Bronco factory in Michigan that they always made them, seems to be a much higher quality. Of course, those are different vehicles too, because the Bronco Sport is unibody. It doesn't have a frame with the body bolted on, where in the case of the Bronco made in Michigan, that has an actual full frame. And in the case of this Tacoma, you can see underneath, yes, it has a full frame. They didn't cheese out. It's got a full solid frame. It's not a joke truck, it's a real truck. And as you can see from the front here, it's got the axles for the front because it's 4-wheel drive. And then it's got a big differential in the back for the rear. Now the owner of this truck says it's an interim vehicle. He wanted to build up his credit, so he wanted to buy it on credit. And he really wants to get the big Ford for doing plowing. But he made a very smart choice because he admits if he's going to get the big Ford, maybe if the prices come down, this will hold its value. It certainly will. I've actually had customers buy these things new a couple years ago, and they traded them in, and they got more money than they paid for it in the first place. With these prices gone sky high, if you want to fiddle around with trading vehicles, it's a lot easier to do than it used to be. It used to be you'd lose your shirt. You bought a new truck and then traded it in 2 or 3 years later, you'd lose your shirt. But in the case of this, no. He bought a solid vehicle that's going to hold up for ages. But on the other hand, one of my sons was thinking about getting a 4-wheel drive truck, so if he gets tired of this thing and he wants to get a Ford, maybe I'll buy it from him for my son. Truth be told, it's a pretty Spartan vehicle. It's a Tacoma pickup, but they can run forever. Everything in them is tried and true. Now, as you can see, it's old school. but old school works. Look at this. What's this? It still has a power steering pump on it. And I like that simplicity. Most modern vehicles have gone to electronic power steering. You get a tiny bit better gas mileage, but when they break, they cost a fortune. These power steering pumps, I've seen them last 500,000 miles on Toyotas. I'll take dependability myself. You can see it's a 4-cylinder, there's plenty of working room, but then again, it's a Toyota, and you probably won't have to work on it other than changing the oil and filter. And here's kind of a funny thing. Usually when you buy a new Toyota, you got those cool batteries, fancy Japanese. Not this one's made in Mexico. You can see this battery came from Temening, Guam. It's not the fancier ones. I guess they want to save money whenever they can, so they're putting a Guam battery in instead of a Japanese one. Truth be told, I've had customers get Mexican-made Toyota Tacomas, 250, 300,000 miles. They're still going down the road. It's not like the engines and transmissions are made in Mexico. They're just put together there. Let's take it for a spin. It's a Toyota. Of course it's going to start up. There's no arguing that. And it's a base vehicle, so, you know, you get a tiny little backup camera. Nothing gigantic, but I mean, what the heck. Now, being a 4x4, it's high up in the air, so my giant berm here that keeps water from going in the yard is no problem for it, and it actually rides over it quite smoothly. So floor it here, you can see. It's not a race truck by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not supposed to be either. If you want power and speed in the Tacoma, you get the V6, but then again, you're going to pay a lot more, sometimes as much as $10,000 to $15,000 more with the way prices are today. So here we go down to the road, and of course, it handles perfectly fine. It's a pickup truck, and the four-wheel drive works great. Not all those crazy lights and everything like the Fords. If you remember the Bronco that I did, that was just too much. Every time you put the key in and close the door on the Bronco, a bunch of rocks rolled up on the screen, turned into a Bronco and jumped up in the air, and there was outer space music and stars on the main dash to look at. This is old tech, that's new tech. But I imagine this thing is going to outlast the new tech quite a distance. You want a basic truck. You really can't go wrong with this. If this is a big enough truck for what you want. Now, he doesn't think it's big enough for his plowing and stuff, and with all the weight of a plow, he's probably telling the truth, but I don't know, it really didn't snow that much this year in Rhode Island. Now, I do have to say the owner of this truck is a little bit crazy as far as I'm concerned, because he bought this as an interim truck to build up his credit before he gets a big Ford. You could drive this thing forever. I would never use it as an interim truck. I would just keep it and drive it forever. But for his situation, if he does want to get a big Ford, put a plow on it, what the heck? He'd probably get more money than he paid for it if he gets rid of it in a year and decides to get the Ford truck, because really, it's not a towing truck by any stretch of the imagination. It is an all-around, four-wheel drive, little pickup truck that can go just about anywhere. Since it is a 4x4, and being a Toyota, it'll probably last forever. Now, this is a 2022 Nissan Frontier. It's the new style. It is the mid-sized pickup truck. Originally, they were a compact truck. Now they're mid-sized trucks. He bought it used, and he saved about $10,000. It's only got 8,000 miles on it, and it makes sense for a lot of reasons. For what he paid for this loaded truck, he could have got an unloaded truck that was new for about the same price. But it's unloaded, right? In this case, it turns out that it was the son of some dealer had it, and then he traded it in on something else. He only had 8,000 miles on it. The guy even added the top there, which is a $1,000 part. A lot of times, if you want to get a luxury pickup truck, forget new. Go used. You can save a lot of money. Now, the Nissan Frontiers themselves, they can be a wise choice because of price. They can last a long time. Understand one thing about Nissan. Their cars, as far as I'm concerned, crappy front-wheel drive Jatco transmissions that fall apart. These are rear-wheel drive. In this case, it's four-wheel drive. Mainly, they got a rear-wheel drive transmission. So those Jatco transmissions are excellent. They really don't have any problems, right? They don't sell millions of these. For example, when they sold 50,000 of these a couple years ago, they sold 240,000 Toyota Tacomas. Tacomas are more popular. Everybody knows Toyota, reliability, yada yada, but I've seen Nissan Frontiers last 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 miles too. They're good pickup trucks. They don't do the marketing that American manufacturers do. But that said, this particular model, when it was sold brand new, they sold 10,000 more of these than Ford did the Ford Rangers. Ford Ranger sales have been dropping like a stone. A few years ago it was 100,000. Last year it was like 50,000. The sales of them is going down. So this 2022 Frontier is competing with the Tacomas. It's competing against what obviously is the best made midsize pickup truck in the world. Take advantage of it because it's a V6 engine. If this had been a Tacoma setup like this, he wouldn't have been able to get it for $39,000. Now with 8,000 miles on it, it would have been $49,000 or $59,000, or maybe even more. It's not like you're buying a Toyota or you're buying a Fiat or a Chrysler, you know, or a GM product that's going to fall apart in front of your very eyes. These things have a tendency of holding up quite well. We're going to the hood. It's got hydraulics on it. You don't have to put one of those dumb sticks. This is what you care about. It's got a V6 Nissan engine. You can see it's all timing chain. It doesn't have those ridiculous rubber belts. These are solid built engines. 310 horsepower, naturally aspirated, not this turbocharged nonsense that Toyota's putting into the modern Tundras, which have had some problems. They do have leg, they don't. This doesn't have any leg. It doesn't have any turbos on it. Of course it doesn't have any leg. Now, it's attached to a 9-speed automatic transmission so that it gets the best gas mileage you can get out of one of these things. 24 miles a gallon. And interestingly enough, that's exactly the gas mileage my son gets in his 2022 Toyota TRD four-wheel drive V6 engine. So it's the same gas mileage because of the multi-speed transmission. Toyota does it with their dynamic force engine system, and Nissan does it with their direct fuel injection, non-turbo. My son's a non-turbo too, so you're getting the same gas mileage. Now we're gonna go check everything out with the computer, but we'll just kind of look around, and you can see it's pretty well set up. Start her up. Got a nice big infotainment system. Their intelligent mobility system is what they call it. Nice big gauges. Doesn't look like a rocket ship. Looks like a regular vehicle. Gray and black steering wheel with a red Nissan on it. Really comfy seats. Look at the leg room in the back. It is an extended cab. It's comfortable. See, we got a sunroof, which doesn't matter to me. I think they're stupid. So I got all the bells and whistles, setups and everything on it. Power everything. And if you want, the 9-speed tranny can be shifted manually up, down if you really want to. And you can see his current gas mileage is 24.2 miles a gallon. Not shabby for something with this much horsepower. Okay, now check it. I love it. Look. It has an actual emergency brake, not one of those electronic crappers. You can charge your phone here by laying it down. Heated steering wheel, heated seats, USB ports, C ports, all kinds of stuff. So let's do a little diagnosis. We'll do auto detect, and we got topology so we can scan all the CAN networks. Here it goes. You can see it fills them up pretty fast. Now you can see there's only 3 trouble codes. It's probably all minor crazy stuff. So let's start out here. The transmission says starter relay. Okay, we're going to erase this code because, as I said a million times, when vehicles sit on lots, the batteries get low, the voltage gets too low, it'll trip a lot of relay, low voltage codes. On a used vehicle that sits on a lot, you're going to get a lot of wanky codes if the battery gets any bit low from sitting too long, and they're meaningless. So check the other ones out. IVC system. It has a code for internal battery. What am I telling you? We're going to erase that code too. And there's one more. Starter relay A. So we'll erase that code. Now we'll start her up and we'll look at some live data. We'll go to the electronic control. Or the engine. Now I realize this thing's only got 8,409 miles on it. Everything should be fine. The battery's charging fine. Airflow stable. Gives you the minimum and maximum fuel pressure, which is fine. Battery current sensor, variable timing information. Even gives you the high fuel pump pressure because this is a GDI engine. It's got a low pressure pump in the tank and a high pressure one on the engine. So all that data comes on the machine. If there is a problem problem when this ages, guys like me can figure it out pretty fast. Shows you the direct injection pulse for bank 1 and bank 2. Now, just for your own interest sake, you can see we can do all these active tests. If they do age and have problems, a lot of testing can be done. Initial functions can be done. I mean, look at this. It's crazy. So as they do age, mechanics like me that are old dogs that learn new tricks can work on these things with a machine like this. It's all tell. It's kind of amazing. You don't have to worry about not being able to get people to fix the cars as long as the guys like me still exist. Granted, we're kind of becoming extinct, but that's another story. I'll put it in reverse. Check out the backup camera, and it's got the great backup camera, and they shot from above, so as you can see, as we turn, you can see everything. I love these camera systems. Now, there's no saying how long they're gonna last, but while they're working, they're great. You're high up in the air, and hey, over 300 horsepower with that normally aspirated V6 engine, it'll probably do pretty good when we get to our little drag strip down the road. It's relatively quiet inside, and a lot of these modern trucks, they've really upgraded their suspension system so that you can really corner a lot faster in these things than you used to. Yet they ride more like a car. They're not like the old trucks where everything was solid axle, leaf springs. They're much better made these days in terms of how they ride. And this is no exception. It's got the lane departure and all that modern stuff on it. Oh, we'll take it out into the cornfields here where it belongs. Although in this case, it would be a Japanese cornfield. We will see what this 300 plus horsepower will do when we floor it, which is one of the reasons people buy these things. All right, on your mark, get set, go! Whoop, and away we go! You can hear it shifting. Smooth shifting. Now, I do have to say one thing. The owner said, oh, he thinks it might be skipping a gear or something. No, this is a 9-speed transmission. They're set up for a combination of power or gas mileage. So if you drive relatively in between, sometimes you'll think it's weird between first or second and second or third. That's the nature of 9-speed transmissions. I mean, a guy brought me a Nissan Rogue the other day, and it had the CVT transmission, which I don't like, but it had the fake shifting, and the fake shifting didn't feel all that good. Yeah, this is much better, but you got to get used to these 9-speed transmissions. Now, they haven't had any problems yet. Look, we're going 40, so you want to pass somebody. You can see it gets up and goes plenty fast enough. Those horses are going, and it's very smooth. You just have to get used to driving these 9-speed transmissions. And as I said, yeah, Jatco transmissions stink, the front wheel drive ones, but this is a rear wheel drive transmission, and Nissan's been making them for decades. Strong transmissions, rarely do they break down. They're different than the front wheel drive little Jatco crappers. They're rear wheel drive, they're long, they're big, and they tend to last quite some time. Nice truck. Not any particular problems with it. It's just that they don't sell like the Toyota Tacomas. They don't have the image the Toyota Tacomas have, but there's really nothing wrong with these pickup trucks. And in the real world, you can get loaded ones a lot cheaper than a Toyota. For example, one of you viewers sent me an email the other day, and they said they went to the Toyota dealer and they said, oh, we're marking it up $5,500, right? Because they can, because everybody wants to buy them, right? With these Nissans, you can often get better deals. And he was smart because, sure, he got a used one, but it's only got 8,400 miles and it's loaded. So he got an 8,400 mile truck for the same price of a stripped down one that didn't have all these extras on it. And of course, as you can see, it's got the speed limit, reads the signs in the area and gets information, tells you how fast you're supposed to be going. Right there it says 45 is the limit on this road. The guy loves it. He likes the way it rides. He saved $9 grand over buying a brand new one that was all loaded by buying a used one with 8,000 miles on it. A strong engine, transmission that can get 24 miles a gallon, all that 300 plus horsepower. Yeah, they don't sell that many of them. They really can't compete with Toyota and their image and everything. So take advantage of a lot lower price for a truck that, hey, it'll probably last 90% as long as a Toyota will. And if they last 400,000 or 500,000 miles in the Toyota, hey, 90% of that is nothing to sneeze about. Honda themselves admitted they built these things mainly for Honda owners. The 18% of Honda owners who wanted a pickup, they wanted to be able to have Hondas in the driveway and in the garage that were just all Honda products. So they made the Ridgeline. You can see they've all got a short bed on them. They're not a giant long pickup truck. They come in 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive. In this case, it was 4-wheel drive because he lived in New York and he had it in college when he went to UB, same place my wife graduated from. And you can see, yeah, the fender's rusty in here, and that's from New York salt on the road. The ones I saw when I was in Texas, they didn't have any rust on them. But the early ones, they weren't salt coated very well for anti-rust, and they will rust. You want to check them out if you're looking at a used one. But on the other hand, when we go under this thing, trailer hitch is rusty. But we'll check the undercarriage. And even though it's got superficial rust, hey, it's still got a nice solid frame to it. Now for a pickup truck, got a lot of room in the back seat. And when he flips this up, he used to take all his friends' gear and everything from New York City to UB when he went to school. You can haul quite a bit of stuff with this. He said he never got stuck in a snow in Buffalo, and it snows a lot there. And you can see, there's various things you can do with the 4-wheel drive system. This is why you like cloth seats. This is an 06, but they're still in excellent shape. And sure, we've got a little tent action going here with the headliner, but that's often what happens. You can have them done over if you don't want to act like you're in a tent, but your kids will love it. Kids ride in here, they can pretend they're in a tent while they're going down the road. And we'll start her up, see what she sounds like. It's a Honda, it starts right up. Now, it didn't come with this vibrating seat, but he added it in. You can hear it. He wants a little massage while he's going down the road. Not that bad of an idea. As you look under the hood, you get a lot of room. It opens up wide. Ultra reliable Honda VTEC 3.5. They do have timing belts, as I say. You got to replace the timing belts every 100,000 miles. But they're pretty reliable vehicles. They share this engine with a lot of other Hondas. The pilots with these Ridgelines, they share like 79% of the same parts. They're basically taking the Pilot. They made a little pickup truck out of it, and especially the later years. These earlier ones were made in Canada, but then the newer ones, the second generations, are made in the United States. They're very similar to the Pilots. Of course, the Pilots are an SUV, but they share the engines, they share all kinds of parts on it. They're not trying to compete with Ford F-150s, with GM Silverados, with Dodge Ram trucks. They're their own brand. They're a Honda pickup truck. Honda, of course, started with small cars. Small was always their thing. When they made their first big vehicles, they didn't even make them. They were just rebadged Isuzus. And they said Honda on the plastic, but they were completely Isuzu made. And after a while, they gave up with them, and then they went to making actual Pilots, making actual little pickups out of them, the Ridgeline. They really don't have anything to do with the Isuzus whatsoever. That was just Honda thought they needed something big, so they bought it from Isuzu, and then they stopped the whole relationship and built their own, which are relatively bulletproof vehicles. Now, he's the second owner of this Ridgeline. He bought it 15 years ago, and he now has 106,000 miles on it. And rightfully so. He wants to know, should you get all the bodywork rust cut off, new metal put in, and repaint it and fix it, because the price of the average new vehicle is now $45,000, or is it too far gone and he needs to get another vehicle? So, we'll get out the old computer to check it out first. So, we'll plug in a little scanner, start checking things out. Computer's looking all this stuff up. We'll take a look around. I really like the dash setup because I'm old and it's huge. You see the tachometer, you see the speedometer, the mileage, the temperature gauge, and the fuel. The main things you want to see, they're right out in the open. You can't miss them. And he's modernized. As you can see, he's got a backup camera that he hooked up to the thing. On automatic scan, all systems. Here we go. It's going to check a lot of stuff. It'll take a little while. But he wants to know, is this thing worth putting a little money into, fixing it up, doing the body work, taking the rust off, or is it time to say goodbye? So, while it goes through the 47 different systems that it's checking out. While we're waiting, the windows all still work. It's a Honda. The AC still works. And while we're waiting for the computer to do its thing, this particular model have a recall for sometimes the back frame gets rusty, the fuel tank can get loose and come off. It's a recall that you can take it to the Honda dealer, replace things that have totally rotten away. So if you're looking at one of these, get the VIN number. Go to the National Highway Traffic Safety.gov website. Put in the VIN number. It's free. You can do it on your phone. And you'll see if it's one that's under the recall, or if you own one, take it in and see. They're going after them for rust problems in the back. You can see this says the fender rust problem. Particularly one didn't look bad. I whacked on a gas tank. It's not loose or anything. But it is a recall that you could take it in for. We're 15 out of 47, and so far there's 0 trouble codes. Now it's done all 47. Now it has found 12 trouble codes. 5 of them are the body control module, and 7 of them are the tire pressure monitoring system. Now, a car that's old, I don't expect the tire pressure monitoring system to work. Get a tire pressure gauge, check your tires every once in a while, because you got to buy all the sensors. The system itself can go out. It could cost a fortune. Tire gauges don't cost much. You can check it yourself. But we're going to look at the other codes first. We're going to look at the body control modules. We're going to diagnose. Typical communication is lost between modules. I see this all the time. Headlight switch, parking, circuit position, malfunction, but the headlights work. Everything works. And in this case, it has an aftermarket radio in it. When you put them in, a lot of times that messes with the body control module. So we really don't care. He doesn't care. That has nothing to do with whether he's going to keep the vehicle or not. So we'll clear these. And the tire pressure monitoring, it's got codes for the sensors aren't working right. You don't care in an old car like this. You can blow all that stuff off. Just get a tire pressure gauge and measure your tires. You can't trust them when they get that old. You spend a fortune on just a stupid thing. They can easily check the tire pressure yourself. So I've cleared all the trouble codes. Now they're done. We'll take it for a road test after we look at the main data of the engine. So start up. You still got 117 bits of data. We'll start looking at stuff. It's color coded. If it's off, we'll see. Fuel turn on bank 2 is 1.11. That's almost perfect. That's like 99%, which is pretty good for an old car. Look, the lambda is 0.99. 1.00 is perfect, and it goes between 0.99 and perfect 1.00. Pretty good for a 16-year-old vehicle now. See how efficient Hondas are. Charging system is even computer controlled on this whole thing. You can see the alternator's doing 38%. Now we'll turn the headlights on, and look, it goes up to 42. That shows it's putting out more power when the headlights are on. It needs more power to charge. Gets you a little bit better gas mileage, that's all. More efficient system. It's not just a simple alternator does the charging. The computer controls the whole thing. So you thought, oh, it's a 16-year-old vehicle and it's not computerized. It's still real computerized, baby. And you can see all the cylinders, no misfires, running perfectly. So let's take it for a spin. Here we go. And as you see the backup camera, he told me he added it in for $250 at Best Buy, because back in the day he said the Honda dealer wanted $5 grand for doing that. It's a nice high up in the air truck. We got my big bump here, and we don't really have to slow down. It's 4-wheel drive. Now, being 4-wheel drive, he's got relatively aggressive tires, so if I shut up, you can hear the tires are humming a little bit. That's just typical. You're going to get that in any truck with aggressive tires. So let's see what this old girl can still do. We'll step on the gas. It's a Honda V6 engine. It's still got plenty of oomph left. The transmission shifting extremely smooth under a high load. I gotta say, it's still in excellent shape. There's no arguing that. Still takes the corners quite well. Interesting intersection. There's no stoplight anywhere. Listen to that engine. Still solid as can be. Still an excellent truck. Hey, it's not competing with the big boys, but Honda didn't make it for that. It's still one of the most reliable pickup trucks out there. It's just that it's a Honda pickup truck. Not an extremely large one, but an extremely dependable one. Now, if you hit the brakes hard, the steering wheel shakes a little because the rotors are warped, but hey, it's just normal wear and tear. No odd noises. This thing's still in really good shape, other than that superficial rust, because back in the day, they didn't coat them right. Older Hondas do have a tendency of rusting if you're in New York State. So what do I think? I told the guy, he should keep it if he wants. He could put front brake rotors on. But he was worried about the noise. And like I said, extremely aggressive tread pattern, right? It is 4-wheel drive. You can take it in the snow, in the mud. When you're on a regular highway, they tend to make a lot of noise because they're aggressive. They're biting in more. And that also will lead to a little bit lower gas mileage, because since they're more aggressive, they put out more friction. Friction is loss of energy, so you get a little bit worse gas mileage too. But for an old vehicle, other than the rust on the side, this thing's still got an awful lot of life. They're not competing with the big boys with these pickup trucks. They're competing with somebody who wants a smaller pickup truck with a lot of room inside that can last a really long time. And this one certainly has. And it's still somewhat luxurious the way it rides. It rides a heck of a lot better than a Ford Ranger, I'll tell you that. So if you're looking for a little pickup truck, you can find one of these. The only thing I say is check it out for rust first. If it is rusting away, you pretty much walk away from the thing. But if it isn't, these things are like plain old Hondas. They can last an awful long time, get you decent enough gas mileage. It is a pickup, it's not phenomenal gas mileage. But then again, it's not like a Toyota Tundra or a big F-150 that's going to get in the low teens gas mileage. It's decent enough for its size. They don't sell that many of them. They don't make that many of them, but they sell every single one they make. So they'll kind of give you an idea that it's in a niche, kind of all by itself, and the people that want something like this, they're generally totally happy with it. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.